Alibaba.com, and today I will show you how to find manufacturers, also known as vendors, also known on this website as suppliers of machine weft hair products. Okay, many of you are probably familiar with Alibaba.com. This website is one of the most popular websites that can be used to source hair. You can get different types of hair on here, but today I will show you how to source, how to find vendors for wholesale hair, and the variety will be machine wefts. I also want to talk to you about the vetting criteria that you should use when looking for vendors on Alibaba.com. Like I said, I'm focusing on Chinese vendors, and then later on, I'll focus on Indian vendors and Southeast Asian vendors. So right now we're talking about Chinese vendors. So there are several different things you should consider. One is use the desktop version of Alibaba.com. It's a little easier to navigate instead of the mobile version of Alibaba.com. Is a little cluttered, in my opinion, but use what you feel is best. But I prefer using the Alibaba.com desktop version. That is what you see right now on the screen. Also, to keep myself organized, I like to open up a notepad off to the side, and I like to keep it to the product. We're sourcing machine wefts, so I put machine wefts here. Supplier name, factory name, contact. We're going to collect the email addresses and any other pertinent information I will put on the side so that at the end of the process, I will have a list of contacts in China for machine wefts. Okay. Also, if time allows, I will also show you how to find vendors for frontals and closures. Okay. So also there's another set of vetting criteria that we use when we are filtering out the different vendors. Some vendors will not make it on the list. There are vendors on this website who are manufacturers/suppliers. I use the phrase interchangeably. On Alibaba.com, sometimes they call it a supplier, sometimes they call it a manufacturer. It is the same thing in this case. I prefer to focus on those types of vendors instead of the other type, traders. Now, there are bigger vendors who do both, who manufacture and trade. But the reason why I don't want you to focus solely on traders is because they don't manufacture the hair, so the quality of the hair would be slightly different. For example, you may order from them one month and then the next month the quality may change because they are not manufacturing the hair. They're simply getting the hair from several different manufacturers to fulfill the orders. So you will see both. There are some companies that do both. They manufacture their hair and they trade it, which is okay. But we want to try to steer clear, if possible, just solely dealing with trading companies. Okay, I want to focus on that. Also, the vetting criteria for the actual vendors will be years of business. You want to go with a vendor that has been in business for at least 5 years. The logic behind that is you want a vendor that has enough experience manufacturing a product. Also on the website, I do like to look at reviews. So if a vendor just started selling this year, there's not enough feedback from the company on the website. So you want to look at the years of business. Like I said, ideally you want to deal with a manufacturer who has been in business for at least 5 years. You also want to think about trying to not focus on vendors who have used a lot of celebrity photos or random photos of different, women. Typically, those are manufacturers who don't actually have the product on hand. They're just using photos, random photos from the internet to show you a glimpse of what they can manufacture. You want to see what they actually are manufacturing. So let's try to steer clear of companies that use a lot of celebrity photos. I realize that some companies like to use that for, to make their websites look nice. That's okay as long as they are consistently actually showing photos of the products they actually claim to sell. Okay. You also want to also make sure that the photos of the actual hair bundles are consistent, meaning if they say it's body wave, it should look like body wave. If they claim that they're selling some type of curly hair, the hair should be curly. Okay. Also, the descriptions of the hair should match the pictures of the hair. So if you see a company that they say that their hair is kinky curly, and in the description it says body wave, or in the picture it looks like a totally different wave pattern, that is inconsistent, and that inconsistency is something that you don't want to gamble with. Okay, you don't want to really deal with companies who have that inconsistency in the title and the photos. That is a huge red flag. You don't want to deal with companies like that. Also, as far as the grading system, as I stated earlier, you do not want to focus on the grading system. I know that's something that's very popular, but I don't want to focus on the grading system, because the grading system, and what I mean by the grading system, is 5A, 6A, 7A, 10A, on and on. You don't want to focus on that, because one vendor may use 5A and then the next vendor may use 10A to signify quality, and that is inconsistent as well. So we don't want to focus on that. We just mainly want to focus on if the photos actually are consistent with the descriptions. Basically, we want to look at a company that has been in business for quite a number of years. Also, we want to definitely make sure that the companies are manufacturers or / suppliers. Okay. Also, a good rule of thumb is to make sure that the name has the 4 parts that I talked about earlier. The company name should have the first part being the province, the second part being the actual brand name or business name that they go by. The third should be the actual products that they sell. And then the last part should be the type of business. Usually you'll see limited or co.ltd. So that's basically the vetting criteria that I use when I look for hair on Alibaba.com. So let's get into it. So what you put in the search function basically is what I discussed earlier in Module 1 about the terms that you use to signify quality. So because I'm looking for wholesale hair, typically wholesale hair on Alibaba.com is going to be bundled form. It's going to be machine wefts. I'm looking for virgin hair. I realize that the majority of the hair has been processed in some way, but we're going to err towards steam processing. Steam processing is a little less stringent on the cuticle layer. So you can still process hair. A good vendor can still process hair, steam process it, and not damage the integrity of the hair. Okay, so that's the goal here. The overall goal is to get as many vendors as we can onto our notepad. Okay, right now we're just trying to get our contacts. Okay, that's the main focus right now. So what I typed in wholesale virgin hair. You want to make sure that your related category is on hair extensions, okay? In the filter area, you'll see filter by supplier types. Now, all of the companies on Alibaba.com are going to have some type of trade assurance and verified. They're all going to have some type of certificate, so you don't have to worry about that. You could filter out for, because we're looking in China, you could filter out for China. And that's pretty much the only filtering that I am going to do right now. Let's see. And I should note that on Alibaba.com, there are Chinese vendors, Indian vendors, and Southeast Asian vendors on here. This is one of the most popular websites available to source hair. Also notice I didn't initially talk about price because right now we're not going to focus on that right now. That is an important factor, but right now we are just trying to get the vendor contacts that, based on our vetting criteria, that fit our vetting criteria. We're going to put those over onto our notepad, okay? So you basically want to steer clear, like I said, of any type of model photos if you can. Typically, those are a red flag because you just want to see the product. I understand they use models sometimes to, give you an idea of what they have to offer, but I like to see the product. I want to see various pictures of the product. So you see here, we want to look at the years. That's what I look at first. These I probably wouldn't look at initially. This has been in business for at least 5 years. And you just scroll back. This one has been in business for 6 years. So let's click on this one. Okay, so when I first look at the photos, I want to look at the consistency of the actual pictures and the title and the name. Now, I really want you to focus on finding vendors that don't use a lot of trendy names. I realize that some vendors do use a lot of Peruvian and Mongolian and all that kind of stuff. I really, that is not a complete red flag, but it's something that I really don't want you to really have a majority of vendors that do that. When in doubt, what I do is I always go, the photos are consistent. One thing that I notice is they're using a lot of words up here that do not describe the photo. The picture is a curly texture. The description doesn't say anything about the curl pattern, doesn't say anything about the wave pattern. So that is something that I would probably not put on my list. I also, part of the vetting criteria, I also like to look at the reviews if possible. I don't let that be my sole deciding factor, but if you see anything about tangling or matting, any of the customers say anything about that, that's definitely a vendor you do not want to put on your list. And so, yeah, this vendor is saying that, or this customer is saying that the hair was unsatisfactory. So that's probably a vendor you do not want to actually put on your list. Okay, so it is a process, but it's not a long process. It just simply depends on, let's see, let's scroll down And again, as I stated, I like to look at the photos of the hair without pictures of any models or anything like that. So as you see, like this photo right here just simply has a picture of the hair. It says it has full cuticles aligned, 10A virgin hair wholesale. So let's click on that. It's been in business for 8 years. It looks like the name has those 4 parts. Let's click on it. Okay. I really don't look at the company capacity and all of that. Like I said, the main thing is right now is on the hair products. And I want to see if the photos are consistent with the photo that we initially saw. Okay. So you see they offer hair weaving, clip-in hair extensions, various different types of wefts, and they also offer lace frontals. We'll look at those as well. So some vendors will carry both, and that is perfectly fine. That is definitely a plus. Now let's look at the photos as a whole. Now all of these photos look to be consistently the same. They're all bundled in the same manner. They have the black ties. Some companies do steal photos from other companies, but for the most part, except this one is wrapped differently, but that's not a huge red flag. But all of these bundles are wrapped in a similar fashion. Okay. So it looks, nothing really stands out as off to me. All the bundles look pretty much like they're packaged in the same manner. If we had random bundles and different ties and different things, let's click on this. Let's make sure that, see, this is like a curlier texture. It, again, the title really isn't telling us what the hair is in the photo. So let's scroll down and see what the profile as a whole looks like. So basically, if you're looking for a satisfactory vendor, all of the, I would say 85 to 90% of the vetting criteria should be matched. So a vendor that would make it onto your list would be a vendor that's been in business for at least 5 years. They're using minimal celebrity photos. They're a manufacturer. The photos are consistent on this one. They are using origin names in the grading system, but for the most part, what I can tell is the products look pretty consistent in the photos. And this company is called Hygie Hair. And most, like this one right here, the hair check, all vendors use that. That's not what I'm referring to when I talk about celebrity photos. I don't look at the factory photos and all that. That's cool, but I don't really focus on all that. So again, let's scroll down. Well, let's scroll up rather. And I want to look, this is the photos of the hair. This is like a curly texture. Again, this has been processed in this texture because Asian hair does not come in this perfect S formation. That's fine if you want to sell curly hair, that all the hair has to be processed that way. So that's okay. Again, they're using Brazilian, Cambodian in the grading system. I realize that some companies do that. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I realize that some companies do that to advertise their hair. So that's one of those things that you will have to deal with when you get further down the filtering process. Okay, so let's look at the reviews. If the reviews are okay, then we'll take that vendor and put it on the list. So let's look at the reviews. So here it says, and this is a recent review from November 28, 2018. So this is very recent. Hair was not 100% human hair. A lot of shedding. It burned when being flat ironed. Did not last a full month. So that is not a good thing. Okay. It said we needed to cover 2 heads, so we ordered 2 more before we got the first order. At first, the hair looks good, but after wearing it, it wasn't good. So this is a vendor that would not make it onto your list. Okay? Do not forget to look at reviews. Okay? Do not forget to look at reviews. Looking at reviews is very important. Okay? So let's go down and look for another vendor that has been in business for a significant amount of time that does not use celebrity photos. You know what? I want to change up the name here. You can play around with the names, you can play around with the descriptions to see what different hair products you can find. Okay. So this one says single donor unprocessed. So let's click on that. It's been in business for 7 years. Okay. So basically, this is straight hair. This is bone straight hair. It fits the description. Okay. They've been in business for 7 years. They are a manufacturer. Let's scroll down. It's straight hair. They do use a celebrity or a actual model's hair, but that's just one photo, so that's not too bad. Again, the hair is straight, so, and they have consistency with the way everything's packaged. Okay, it is processed hair, as you can see. So those of you who are looking to sell processed hair, this may be a vendor that you might want to think about purchasing from. They also, let's see what else they manufacture. I think they also manufacture frontals and closures as well. Let's look at the reviews. Okay, so the reviews seem to be good. This hair, they love this hair vendor. Good quality, had minimal shedding. The only issue was the frontals did not match the closure. But for the most part, The reviews seem pretty decent. The company is called Le Shine Hair. It is a manufacturer, so that's a good thing. Let's go to the contact information. Okay, so you see the factory name, the company name. What I like to do is, like I said, to keep track of everything, I like to copy the name and then take it on over and put it over here. So I have an idea of who I contacted. Well, not who I contact, but who I'm going to contact. And that's the info at leshinehair.com. That is who you would contact. Okay, so that's how you would find your contacts for your actual machine wefts, okay? So you would continue that process and copy and paste and put your machine weft vendors on your document, okay? So that is for the machine wefts. Okay, let's look at some more real quick. Let's see, here's one. And then I'm going to look at closures and frontals from Chinese vendors. Okay, so this is a Chinese vendor. However, this has been in business for 3 years. Okay, so we want to consider that it has, I said 5 years, and we'll see if the other parts of the vetting criteria fit. Okay, so they have photos of the bundles. They're saying, however, that the hair is Filipino hair. We know right there that's Chinese hair. Yes, it's in China. So let's scroll down and let's look at the actual photos of the hair. See if they're consistent. So it's straight hair, so it may be raw. But so far they have 2 strikes against them. Slight strikes. Okay. They're saying it has Southeast Asian origins and all of that. Yeah. So, and they have various different colors and stuff. I don't know about this vendor, but it looks like they do process their hair for the wave pattern and things like that, but it is a Chinese-based company, so the fact that they're claiming that they have all of these different origins, I'm not too. I wouldn't suggest you deal with this company. If you did want to put this company on your list, I would solely go by reviews. So let's see what the reviews are saying. Also, when you have a company, there's another way to check to see if there's any reviews on a vendor before you put the vendor on your list as a potential vendor to contact. Let's see. It says this is my second time buying hair from here. Best quality so far. Okay. So they're saying that the hair is pretty decent. I don't know if it's Filipino hair. If I want Filipino hair, I would go to the Philippines. So the reviews are saying that the hair is pretty good. Okay. It is a manufacturer. Let's see. What you could also do. So if you like the vendor, like I said, you just copy and put it over to the side so you can keep track of all your vendors. These are your Chinese vendors for your machine webs. So what I am going to show you, what I suggest you all do, is just simply do a Google search, cross-reference with Google to see what comes up on Google. Okay? So they have the website, they have a Facebook page. Let's see what the Facebook page is talking about. So this could be a decent vendor. So let's see. I don't want to make this video too long, but I just want to show you the process that I go through when I'm cross-referencing potential vendors. Okay, so you have their Facebook page, and you can go in their Facebook page, and they also have their contact information on their Facebook page, and they also have a website, so you can cross-reference and see if there's any reviews. And everything like that. I will say that the hair is processed. You can tell. It looks like they do sell frontals. So that is a vendor you might want to put on your list. Now, let's go back. And so those are Chinese vendors. So like I said, you have your vetting criteria for your Chinese vendors, for your machine wefts. That's essentially what you want to look for. Okay, so there are Alibaba.com companies that sell decent quality, potentially decent quality machine wefts. We just found 2 in the span of 15 minutes. So let's go, and there's some other ones on here that could potentially be part of your list. But because most people who get, if you eventually start selling hair, you definitely want to look for frontals and closures, correct? Let's see. Is this an Indian vendor? This might be an Indian vendor right here. Yeah, this is an Indian vendor. So for Indian vendors, for machine webs on Alibaba.com, you would use the same criteria. Of course, their naming process is slightly different. You just want to make sure that you cross-reference your Indian vendors and you do the same Google process to make sure that there are no negative reviews on this business. But when you source Indian vendors, you also want to make sure that the hair, this is South Raw Temple virgin hair, what have you, you want to make sure that the photos are consistent. Okay, you want to make sure that they're consistent. Okay. So it's the same process. All right. Except the name the 4-part name. This will not have that 4-part name. Okay, so if you were looking for, say, a different type of hair, if you were going through this process and you didn't see any Chinese vendors that you would potentially like, you could use one of these vendors. This vendor also has various different body waves and things like that. So you would go to the company profile. Again, this is a Indian vendor, and some Indian vendors do accept PayPal. So as you can see, this is all the vendors' information. So you can't copy and paste that, but you would just go through all of that and find, because they do have their email address and all of that, contact information. This is a manufacturer, distributor, wholesaler. They're located in India, so this is a possible, you could put, if you want an Indian vendor, you can also put that on your list of potential vendors. Like I said, you would find the company name and copy and paste it in Google to make sure that there are no negative reviews. Excuse me. There's no negative reviews on this particular company. But again, this is not the focus of this particular video. But, as you can see, it's not that hard to find various different machine weft vendors on Alibaba.com. We just found potentially 3 in the span of 20 minutes. Okay, so like I said, most of you who are looking for, say, bundled hair, you probably will be looking for frontals and closures as well. So let's do a brief search for, let's do a brief search for, let's say French lace closures. And basically, when you look for potential vendors for frontals and closures, you want to look for vendors who are selling frontals and closures that look natural. Let's see. Make sure we're on the right path with supplier location. I want to look in China first. Okay, so you want to look at the photos and make sure that the descriptions match. So if it says that it's a deep curly, the description should say deep curly. Also, the hairline should look natural, shouldn't look thick and bulky. So, and I stated earlier that it should have a lip around the outside. Okay, so you use the same criteria, but this time you want to make sure that the frontal or the closure is constructed properly, or it looks natural. Because when your customers wear the frontals and the closures, like for this one, for example, it's too thick in the front. Now, of course, you can, when you start contacting your vendors, of course, you can, raise that as a concern, but it's easier to find a vendor that can already showcase in their pictures what they can produce. See how thick those closures look in the front? It's like a straight across hairline. You don't want that. So sometimes when you're looking through your photos on Alibaba.com, sometimes you will not see straight at the beginning of your search exactly what you want. But let's see. And again, you want to target, you want to do your search based on manufacturers. Okay, that's what we're going to focus on. We're focusing on manufacturers. Let's see. And you also want to try to find a manufacturer who has been in business for at least 5 years. There are slight exceptions, but for the most part, that's what you want. So, because you want to see enough reviews of the product to give you a good idea of what the company can offer. Okay? So, let's look at this. Let's look at this particular frontal. This is a frontal piece. Okay? So, this is actually a trading company. So, I really don't want to focus on trading companies in this video. But as you can see, the front portion of the frontal looks really good. I wish we could find out where they got the hair from, the exact manufacturer, because this is not the manufacturer of the hair. This is the trading company who trades this particular. They don't ventilate the hair. Let's see. But you see how that looks natural in the front? That's what you want to go for. So initially, sometimes you have to change up your search criteria. If you don't see, I'm not seeing what I need to see initially. Let's see. Let's see if this particular company is a this is a trading company. It's been in business for 7 years. Let's see. And again, you want to look to see if they actually have photos of the products. Okay. So let's see if it fits our criteria. Okay, so they've been in business for 7 years. Okay, they actually have consistent photos of the product they sell. There's the lip around the outside of the product. Okay. All right. This is a closure. Let's see. They also sell bundled hair. The construction looks decent. Okay. And sometimes it's good when they zoom in on the product because you can kind of see the hair there. But what I really want to see is if it is a manufacturer. So if it doesn't say it up here, you can go to their profile. So they're actually a trading company. However, let's see. Yeah, this particular company doesn't have a lot of information on their actual company, and that's the issue, and that's why I don't like dealing with trading companies, because you can't find a lot of detailed information about the company. And they had a picture of Beyonce in the contact information. Okay, so when you're not finding exactly what you want, because it says olive virgin hair, but the company name does not match what I want to see. So I'm going to change up pre-plucked lace frontal. I'm going to change up my search criteria. Pre-plucked just means that the hairline has been ventilated uh, to make it look natural in the front. So the density would be more of 90% in the front hairline. Okay? So you have a hairline that looks more natural instead of a really, really dense hairline. Okay? So this is a manufacturer. Okay? It's been in business for 8 years. Okay? The construction of the hairline looks okay. Okay, it looks quite natural. You would have to look at the underside. And some companies will have the underside photos of their closures. They are using the grading system, and they're using, terms like mink and things like that. But that's only one infraction. So that's not a huge red flag, but they actually are showing photos, close-up photos of the frontals. It's actually ventilated pretty well. It's not very thick. So if you're looking for frontals, there's the bottom. So it has the lip around the outside. Okay. So that's how you would find a frontal or a closure vendor. They also sell um, different types of wefts, straight hair, um, wavy hair, deep curly, and all that. So before I close out on this video, I want to look at the reviews on this particular hair. I always look at the reviews. You always want to make sure that you look at the reviews. This company is called Q-Dow Bowling Hair Products Company. Okay. And the reviews, you want to make sure the reviews are actually talking about the hair and not the actual delivery time. I don't consider that a good review. You want to look for, any issues with the texture, or if it mats or tangles, you want to see if this really a real review, okay, and not a made up review. So the reviews seem decent. I don't see anything too concerning. So you would go to the contacts So this will be your potential, if you were looking for frontals or whatever, you would go to contacts and you would, like I said, you would copy and paste this and put it on your list as a potential frontal or closure vendor. So the goal is to find at least 5 vendors on Alibaba.com that fit the vetting criteria, at least 90% of the vetting criteria. Okay, so the vetting criteria again are years of business. You want at least a vendor that has been in business for at least 5 years. They use minimal celebrity photos. They're manufacturers. They actually have consistent photos of the product. Okay, the descriptions match the photos, and they use minimal origin names, trendy names, and the grading system. Most of the vendors are going to use maybe 1 or 2 of those, but if all of the things on the list they're doing something against, let's say you find a vendor and they have a lot of celebrity photos, they're using a lot of origin names, trendy names, and they're using the grading system, that would not be a vendor that you would put on your list. But in this case, for this particular vendor, as we went through it, as you can see, they have Brazilian hair, Malaysian hair, Peruvian hair, Russian hair. If we were to click on, say, silk-based closures and pictures of Beyonce and Rihanna and different celebrities popped up, that company would not make it on the list because they're using a lot of the things that are red flags. Okay, so you're going to be hard pressed to find a vendor that doesn't use any of those, but you want to make sure that your potential vendors that you put on your list are 85 to 90% on the up and up. They are really falling into the good side of your vetting criteria. I hope that makes sense. So we're looking at the photos, and this is a different type of frontal or closure piece. It's called a silk-based closure piece. So if that's something that you are interested in as well. The difference with the silk-based closure pieces are that they have a skin-like appearance. Some people like them, some people don't. I would consider it, if you're just starting out, more of an advanced type of closure piece, because some stylists say that they feel like it doesn't look as natural. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely suggest you go with French lace in the beginning and expand upon that. Okay, so that's how it looks in the front. So basically, we found in the span of this tutorial, we found about 2-3 possible bundle vendors, and we've seen a couple of potential frontal or closure vendors. Okay, so that is the goal. You need at least 5 from Alibaba.com, okay, to put on your list, so that when you start contacting your vendors, you'll have a list full of potential vendors you can choose from. Okay, so I will include all of this in writing so that you can get the vetting criteria and everything, so you can go through the criteria and find potential vendors on Alibaba.com. I'll give you a couple of days to do that, and then when we'll come back to the next lesson, I'll show you how to go through other websites. Especially, I want to show you how to get to the Indian vendors. Okay, all right.